Welcome back to County Board Wrap-Up, our monthly look at the actions the board took at its monthly meeting. Now, while, as we've been saying, the vaccine has dominated the lion's share of conversations this month, we did have a rather robust discussion surrounding a big Roslyn redevelopment plan, the Ames Center. Let's start off, let's remind viewers what this site is and then what was brought forth to the board this month. Matt, we'll start with you.
Sure. So the project is actually, as you're approaching Roslyn, there's a church that has a gasoline station underneath, if for some who don't live in Roslyn. But it's a key piece of Roslyn's neighborhood. And this project is going to result in additional housing units, a total of 740. And it's going to replace and help us build out some of our plans that we had for Roslyn as a sector. And so this is a project that 18th Street will help us provide a view down into Roslyn, and it's going to be two buildings next to each other. It helps us with a significant investment in our transportation infrastructure, and it's the sort of economic development that I think will help us recover as a community. And so it was a great project that came forward. The investment in transportation is key. It's also as far as rebuilding the sort of revitalizing the walkability of Roslyn. So it's a good project in that way. There's a number of other components to it that Katie, you may want to share as well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, while we're talking expansively today in this county board wrap up, one of the things I think is pretty remarkable about these civic engagement processes to do these corridor area plans, it's just the capacity that the community and our professional planners and the private sector brings to looking at what is, right? The tall buildings of Roslyn and the way the street grid is laid out and being able to just envision something completely different. And that's what the 18th Street, the rebuilt 18th Street that is the heart of the Realize Roslyn Sector Plan is all about. It's this new spine where currently, you sort of have some buildings configuring and some streets envisioning a new spine that runs through downtown Roslyn, a corridor with open spaces, a view shed that is walkable and bikeable, has streets that invite people in, and really a new vision for the whole downtown. And this project goes such a long way in delivering that. So I'm really excited. It's being able to look at what currently is and recognizing something even better could be. And this is going to be a project that delivers it. The other thing to be really excited about, 24 on-site committed affordable apartment units. That's really hard to do in these very expensive, very downtown sites. Often what the builder or the applicant will do instead is contribute to our affordable housing investment fund, which our affordable housing ordinance allows them to do. But so to get these on site to bring neighbors maybe making 60 or 70% of the area median income right side by side with neighbors spending quite a bit more on luxury housing. That's really a vision for an integrated community by income, and that's exciting to see.
Well, it's interesting, Katie, you bring that up, because I was going to say that there was a lot of discussion about some really interesting elements of this project. And we were talking for several hours during the meeting of everything from the public art component to the elevators for the building to the really unique plantings that are proposed. Can you talk about some of the things that are going to make this project unique and such a catalyst for this new 18th Street corridor?
Well, to start, I think the original plans that this developer brought to us did not value that 18th Street. So it's 2 towers instead of 1. And I think that will open things up. That is a significant community benefit. We did talk about planters and public art and biophilic components of this development in a fair bit of detail, but I think that reflected that so much work had been done already to make this a good proposal when it came to us, that there was some additional pieces that we would want. No project is perfect, but we certainly, one of the biggest things that not everyone may know is that Fort Myer Drive and that tunnel is going to go away, and this is a significant investment to get us there. So I think that our processes worked, and as we've talked so expansively about other earlier in our conversation, this is an example of walking and chewing gum. We are doing the blocking and tackle, the things we need to do as a community to continue economic growth, because without that growth, the investments that we want to make in our schools, in our environment, are really challenged. And so that's what I thought was some real strong pieces of this project.
And this will also go a long way to achieving that better balance between the housing and then the retail commercial development that was the envisionment of the sector plan initially, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Yeah, and the sector plan is something I've come to see later, but it's also something that each of us on the board has wanted to see realized. So this is a good project, and we both, I think, were quite pleased to support it. I don't know, Katie, if you have other thoughts.
No, I think that was great. And Kara, as you talked about, each of those examples are illustrative or sort of nuts and bolts features that tie into bigger questions, right? So we had a fairly lengthy conversation about planters along the side of the building, but that's more than just a decorative element, right? That's about how do you create living things in a downtown area that may not have as much natural spaces as other parts of the county, right? How do you bring that in? That's a big concept and a big priority, certainly for residents of our more downtown areas like Roslyn or Crystal City. That conversation about the elevator overrun, which sounded really wonky, was in fact a conversation about the heights map for Roslyn, which is a key element of the sector plan. How do we expect that skyline to ebb and flow so that it's not all just masses of buildings? What do we expect the key view sheds from the observation deck, a landmark feature of Roslyn? How do we expect those to play out, and so on and so forth? So lots of those sort of wonky elements that are actually indicative of something much bigger. The one piece that I think we all would have loved to have seen a little more come in on was the environment, or the sustainability piece, rather, I should say, of the buildings. They are going to be LEED Silver, which is the standard of our former Green Building Incentive Plan, Green Building Incentive Program. As regular watchers of County Board Wrap-Up probably know, from December, the board actually updated that policy. So from now on, you'll see buildings to achieve their base density having to start at LEED Gold. It's a higher standard for on-site sustainability and other measures. And so I know we're looking forward to seeing more projects come in under that new program to really help us achieve our community's net zero goals.
Okay, well, on that note, that will bring us to the end of another County Board Wrap-Up, the first of 2021. Next month, we'll be speaking to board members after the county manager proposes his fiscal year 2022 budget at February's meeting. We'll have lots of questions about the manager's recommendations and the board's public review of the proposed budget. So Matt and Katie, thank you both very much for joining us today. And thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the board's actions. Remember, you can always visit the county website, arlingtonva.us, for the latest on the pandemic, vaccine efforts, and all of the projects we discussed here today. I'm your host, Kara O'Donnell. We hope all of you join us again next month for County Board Wrap-Up.